Greetings, this is the Timeshare Traveler, and today is episode 72. Hilton Grand Vacation Max creates cross-country possibility. This is a big change for the Hilton network, Hilton as far as the timeshares goes. Now you have enough ability, enough locations for you to drive with a car across country, one direction and back. Very similar to driving in an RV. I'll go through the details of all that, of how you can do that. Before I do that, tell you a little bit about my channel, and then we'll dive into the details. Hi, my name is Cliff, and I'm the Timeshare Traveler. The purpose of this channel is to provide education and knowledge for those interested in timeshares. I've been a timeshare owner for over 15 years. I'm an elite owner with Marriott Vacation Club, Hilton Grand Vacations, and WorldMark by Wyndham. I've also posted over 70 timeshare video reviews of different locations, and I've posted 40 timeshare video tips. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button below, and I can be found at Timeshare Trav on Twitter and Facebook, and my website is www.timesharetraveler.com. Okay, let's now go over the overview. So the first thing is this is really exciting. Hilton Grand Vacations Max creates travel similar to RVs with the increased number of locations. Then I'm going to go through the outline of a cross-country trip, a map of the locations, and I'll walk you through the eastbound leg and then the westbound leg. So let me, without further ado, drop right in and start with the outline. I'm really excited about Hilton Grand Vacations Max creating a travel similar to RV. What I mean by that is that there are just one more option. You can have an RV, you can travel in hotels, or in my case, you can drive staying in timeshares. And I think that's a fabulous option, and it just shows that the strength of timeshares as the consolidation happened. There's more and more options. So now that this has happened, it's not fully rolled out, but there are multiple locations across the U.S. I got a list of all the HGVMax locations from corporate, and I mapped them out on a cross-country trip. I didn't use all the locations. I just sort of made it work for a nice cross-country trip. Again, I don't want to make it sound like it's an RV. There are limitations. The number of locations is not anywhere near what you can do with an RV. You still need to plan the RV trip, and you still need to, get your places you're going to stay. So there's some similarities whether you're doing timeshares or an RV, or even a hotel. Hotel, probably the least amount of planning, because you usually can book in a shorter window because there's so many options for you there. So probably the obvious part is you're driving in a car. So you're saving on the cost of gas, and right now the cost of gas is around $5 a gallon, so it's definitely top of mind. But be fair, you can't put as much stuff in a car as you can in an RV, so you have to kind of be frugal with what you carry with you. But here's my point, and ultimately why I landed here is Hilton Grand Vacations is an upscale set of timeshares, and they're more luxurious than an RV. Some RVs can be really, really nice, and so I don't want to take too much away from them, but usually the amenities, the pools and the hot tubs and stuff are not usually in your RV or the RV place that you stay at. Can't say that I've been to many of them, enough of them, but that's my perspective. So there you go. I think this is exciting. The bottom line is the fact that now in timeshares I can do cross-country trips and travel in a similar way. Can't get quite as close in some situations, but I travel very similar to the way you would do with an RV. Now I'll go through the outline of the cross-country trip. I'll start driving out of San Francisco, going through southern U.S., ending up in Myrtle Beach. I'm going to be driving back west to San Francisco, going on a more northerly route. I do share one location on both ways. I'm going to stay in Hilton Grand Vacation Max Locations, and again, gas prices above $5 as I do this. Again, like a lower, like an RV trip. Again, timeshares much more luxurious, sort of repeating. And have equal to or more space in the RV. Probably often more space, I believe, but there are some of the really large buses that do have quite a bit of space, so I don't want to discount that. The one thing that we do share with the RVs is you get to cook in your units, so you do save quite a bit of cost, and that's what makes it, to me, equal to an RV, is that I'm really living. I happen to be, instead of in my moving house or an RV, I'm actually in a rented location. I do want to add that even though there aren't quite as many locations, Hilton has Homewood Suites, and they have kitchens, so you actually have a lot more options. But for this exercise, I did not want to throw in all the, I felt that would be an unfair statement to say, well, you can stay in timeshares, but then end up staying in a bunch of Homewood Suites. So I didn't do that. So let me now show you the map for that. Here's the map of the locations that I drew out, and what you can see is my eastbound trip with the red lines, more on the southerly. Again, I share a spot in the middle. That's Branson, Missouri, in case you were curious. And I head down through Tennessee and down to Myrtle Beach, but I could have gone, a little further south and back. I could have gone down to Florida. There's a lot of Hilton Grand Vacation opportunities down that way. But I didn't do that. I headed up to Williamsburg, and then I headed back toward, it could either be, I picked South Bend, but you could pick Chicago. There's a Hilton Club there. Then I came back through Branson, Missouri, and then on out to Estes Park. Could have stayed in the Hilton Grand Vacations. It's out in Colorado as well. Then I went to Park City, Utah, South Lake Tahoe, and then finally back to San Francisco, which is where I started. So you can see it's pretty, there's a couple long stretches of driving there, I think, from Santa Fe going east, from Santa Fe to Branson, and from Branson to Colorado. Those are probably longish drives, meaning more like 10 or 11 hours. But by and large, I tried to keep it at 8 hours or less on my drives, because otherwise I think it's just tiring. There you have it. Let me now go into details about the east and westbound portions of the trip. I'll start with the eastbound leg of the trip. Starting east from San Francisco, first stop was in Carlsbad to enjoy the beach, and there are multiple locations with Hilton Grand Vacations there. And my second stop is one of the new locations in Sedona, Arizona. Enjoyed the red rocks and the mountains, beautiful views. I've driven through it, and I've stayed there once before. Third stop is Santa Fe to enjoy art and food. It's a great place to just relax. Fourth stop is Branson, Missouri to enjoy a show, some unique culture there. I've been there before. Fifth stop is Gatlinburg to enjoy some history. It's an interesting town, and I actually haven't been there, but I want to go there. I've read up on it. When I say interesting, I've read about it. And then arrive on the East Coast, which I've been to Myrtle Beach, and it's kind of, again, more ocean and beach to enjoy. And in my case, you could go south to Florida and spend some time there, but I'm more or less taking a shorter trip, travel north up the coast to Williamsburg for more history, and that's the east leg of the trip. Now let me jump right in and do the west leg of the trip. My first stop on the trip now is heading to Gary, Indiana. And that's kind of, you could also do Chicago. There's a Chicago club. I just picked Gary, Indiana, because that's one of the new Hilton HGVMax locations. Again, stopping back, the one location that's the same is Branson, Missouri. My third stop is in Colorado Mountains at Estes Park. It's supposed to be a beautiful place. Never been there. Read a lot about it. Pretty excited about that. The fourth stop is at Park City, Utah, which I have stayed at, and I love that location. I have done a review of that, one bedroom. Beautiful mountain hiking, and there's a lot of cultural events in the town itself. The fifth stop is Lake Tahoe, South Lake Tahoe, which it's close to casinos, but it's also Lake Tahoe is a beautiful hikes. I've hiked multiple cases there. And then my last stop is returning to San Francisco. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this. And to me, this is a real game changer for and a reason to do HGVMax. because you now have the ability to do cross country. Not only, and then obviously you have Europe, Asia, and Hawaii as well, which you obviously couldn't do with an RV. But I wanted to show you, you have some of the same features that you have with an RV. You can drive across country, and you don't have to stay a full week at every one location, 3 or 4 days, then driving across. Or you can make it a shorter trip and just do the West Coast or just do the East Coast. But anyway, I think this sort of highlights the big change in HGVMax. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to subscribe. Helps me put more content out. Thanks so much for listening.